Hello, this is Nikki from the next big thing, the great big thing, the next big thing. And today I am interviewing Murky Depths, who are playing on Saturday at Trade Hall One for the second next big thing. I've got a bit of a connection with some of the people here, and so it should be a little bit of fun. So first of all, I'm going to get them to introduce themselves. Let's start with Richard. You can go
Hey, how's it
first.
going? I'm
No,
Richard. I play in Murky Depths and other fiddly things. And from originally from Palmerston North. I learned how to play there. Um, been in Wellington, living in Porirua for the last like 7 years, I guess. And through COVID and social media, met another like-minded musician, Stephen, and together we started jamming, writing music, and kind of ended up where we are now, and in a position where we're wanting to start gigging and meeting other bands and learning more about the scene and whatnot.
cool. And so you're the guitarist, is that right?
Yeah,
You're the guitarist, right? And Alexander, is that your name, or are you
yeah.
under a pseudonym as well?
No, that is just me. Hello, I'm Alexander. I'm the drummer for Murky Depths. I'll just do what Richard did. Born and raised in Wellington. Been playing drums for about about 7 years. Um, Great times. I love to play all sorts of things: rock, metal, punk. I do a bit of jazz as well. I was just a few months ago, back in May, last hole of a golf game, got a message from these guys saying, "Hey, you still play drums, right?" Because I was part of this Facebook group for our local street, and I was like, "Yes, yes, I am," and needed a drummer for uh, a gig over at Lovelands. And I was like, "Sure, why not?" And then I decided to stick around because it seemed like they were all right.
Awesome, that's cool. And now you're not really Sarah. This is Steve. Hey, Stephen.
Yeah, yeah, that's me. Not really Sarah, that's my wife. Okay, bass player and vocalist. That's about it. No, as you can hear, not a Kiwi. I'm a Brit, but been in New Zealand 10 years now. Another refugee from the north of England. Much prefer it here than back there. Never been back. Quite comfortable. Yeah, live in Porirua. So I literally live around the corner from these guys. As Richard pointed out, we've been jamming together for about 4 or 5 years nearly. And it's about time we started playing in front of people again. I started playing when I was 13. I've always played bass. I played in punk bands, metal bands, alt rock bands. Played lastly in a stoner rock band in the UK, but kind of mellowed out a little bit in my old age, which we tend to do a little bit, don't we? When we get
Indeed.
a bit older and this stuff starts coming out, the grey hairs.
Indeed. So yeah, that's quite cool because you just said you're from over the hill, so that's Yorkshire, and I'm from Lancashire. So we've got a bit of a sort of what's the rivalry, the Wars of the Roses going on there.
Aye.
Aye, indeed, indeed, indeed. So it's quite interesting because I've got a British connection with you, but Richard, a number of years ago, actually came and auditioned for Spank when Sheldon left. So I know Richard. It was quite interesting to see him online, and in this band. I only noticed earlier. I was like, oh man, that's cool. And so have you? So how long? So you've been together a few years. Have you been gigging regularly?
No, we've we there's a mate of mine from work that my previous job, who is a drummer, and we found a place to practice, set up a bit of a jam room, and then went through jammed with some different people, and then in the end it was like, okay, we're sounding all right, let's bring in someone, and I contacted Stephen and said, hey, do you want to come and see what this is like? and that worked out really well. And we started writing straight away. We had a really good, atmosphere or relationship, whatever you want to call it. But the music was flowing, and we found writing really easy, and it was really exciting. And then some things changed, and but me and Steven so basically sort of stuck together, and then brought in so Alex has came in at the last minute to help us out with our very first gig, which was at Lovelands, and you know what that place is like. So pretty forgiving, good place to have a first gig, where everyone's pretty supportive, and and there's a lot of people there, so it was good to have that experience. And Alex came in and stole the show and was the hero of the hour, and we're excited about just the way we're creating that right now. At the moment, the creative juices are flowing really easily, and we're finding it, it's just awesome. And then now we're getting these opportunities, and this will be our third gig now, in the space of sort of 4 weeks, and so we just want to build on that. And it's just like gone from nothing to this. It's really exciting.
That's cool, eh? And I think that's how it works with bands. And we've had a bit of a tough time through COVID as well, because there's not been that many gigs, and it's starting to feel like people are starting to kick up and have a bit more optimism about it. And so I'm going to come back to you in a minute, Alex. Stephen, I want to ask you, because you said you were a vocalist and a bass player. How does that work? That must be pretty challenging.
Well, bass is easy, isn't it? It's only 4 strings. There's big gaps in between them. So I've always played bass, and I kind of fell into vocals because I'm probably arguably a failed writer that wants to play music instead. So I sit and try and write stories. I've written poetry that I've never shared with people. I write a blog that I don't share with people because it's just all my own thinking, what I think about the world. And so when Richard and I started jamming, and there's a bit more of a story to this because this was prior to COVID, and roughly where we live, there's a Facebook community page. So Richard actually threw onto it. I mean, he'd done this a few years ago, but again, he threw onto it. Are there any musicians in our community that want to jam and do stuff? And there were quite a few of us that put our hand up. I mean, my wife went, prod, come on, get off your ass, go play something. I was like, yeah, all right. So we kind of hooked up in a local pub. One of the guys, a guy called Ben, he said, I know this guy, Steve, who runs Lovelands. So maybe we can get down there to practice and we can have a bit of a jam session. And Ben played drums. So we're like, yeah, cool, let's do that. So we arranged a couple of sessions down at Lovelands, went down there. There was a guy called Jason, another guy who never played anything whatsoever. And then me and Richard, and we started just jamming stuff out. And Richard and I kind of fell into this kind of blues rock vibe with each other, whereas Ben was more harder metal. And Jason was just completely anything he wanted, absolutely anything. He was just a happy guy, and he still is a happy guy. We still know Ben and Jason. They're in another band called Volk.
Oh, yeah.
They recently played Lovelands. So we started doing that jamming thing, but then it kind of fell apart because it wasn't going where Ben wanted to go because we had kind of different musical tastes. And so that disappeared. And then when Richard got in touch with me and said, I'm jamming with this guy that I know at work, and he's playing drums. You want to come along and play bass? I was like, yeah, cool. We started jamming, and then it was like, oh, we've got a microphone. I'll just start wobbling down the mic just so we get a song structure. But I don't know how you write music, but often you'll get a bit of a riff, and then the vocalist will start throwing out some kind of vocals to give you a verse structure. And then you'll kind of find a chorus somewhere, and you'll plug them together, and suddenly you've got a song structure coming out, and then you're looking for a bridge or a break or a solo or something. So I started doing that just so that we could start getting structures down. And then it kind of just evolved from there. I'm definitely not the world's greatest bass player. I'm definitely not the world's greatest singer. I'm okay at writing stories and lyrics. So we'll just keep doing this. But as I said, my background, punk, it's old straight edge hardcore. It's prog rock. It's Motorhead. It's stuff like that. So it's kind of a weird hodgepodge of stuff. And then we start playing, you know, I sit and play on the acoustic and write really bizarre acoustic songs about lost loves and suicide and all sorts of stupid things like that. So we're just enjoying seeing where it's going. And as Richard said earlier, and I know you're going to get on to Alex in a second, the drummer that we were playing with, that kind of felt a bit. Then we got another drummer, but he had a number of different bands going, so he had to focus on them, and he couldn't do the Lovelands gig, which we'd secured. So we're like, oh no, what we do? This was 2 weeks before we played Lovelands, and Alex just walked in and learned a set in 2 weeks, and it was his first gig ever.
That's what drummers are like, eh? You know, it's like,
yeah,
some drummers are in so many bands that it's like you have to book in advance to get them to come and play at your. But like Dave was like that when in Spank, when we got Dave, he came in at short notice and learned our set really fast, you know, and like a good drummer can do that, eh? So Alex, so
Yeah.
this was your first gig, was it? So
Yeah.
was it your first band, or have you been in other bands before?
No, I'm also in a band with my best mate from high school, and we like to play some punky, rocky type stuff with a bit of synth in there. But besides that, yeah, just this me and my mate, and then also doing this stuff with Richard and Stephen. Only 2 bands I'm in right now, really. Yeah, Lovelands, my first gig. I was so nervous. Like, all right, cool. Week and a half, learn about 6 songs or so. Yeah, I could probably do that. I can make that work. Oh, no pressure.
No pressure whatsoever. Yeah, so coming back to you, there's 2 of you now mentioned punk. So that's pretty interesting. I'm quite interested to hear you now. That's what we sort of tried to be, a bit of punk, a bit of pop punk in Spank. We're not that anymore. We're something completely more eclectic than that now. But so like you
Well, that's
come
right.
from, sorry, you're
That's
not
right.
into punk.
Well, yeah, but more. I came from a sort of a hard rock metal kind of background, so I bring it down a little bit, and I don't know what I do, but the 3 of us combined, we make something that hopefully I think is pretty different. I don't think we sound like anybody else. I don't think we even sound like our influences. So I don't know what it is, but yeah, but like I said before, it's exciting and it's enjoyable the way that it's flowing, the way we're writing, and I just want to keep doing it. And hopefully people like it, you know, and then they will feed off of that.
Indeed, and I think that's the thing, you know, you often get in a band with people who are not got into the same stuff as you. You know, everybody in Spank, which was before when we had Sheldon, we were all into something different, and that's why it came out as this crazy sort of thing. You know, it was pretty crazy because we were all into something different. And this Jeff, we're a little bit more coherent, so like we've all got a similar thing going on. What I was going to ask was, did you play any of the interesting venues in Manchester, being from the north of England, or did you stick mostly with like round Yorkshire? Steve.
Didn't really get across the hills that much. Played around Bradford and Leeds, a few gigs in London, because there's loads of venues in London. It's relatively easy to get gigs. It was kind of niche scene because it was stoner rock that we were playing. The last band I was playing in, but before that we did a bit of alternative rock, which stuck around Bradford and Leeds. But the band before that, we were a hardcore band. You know, straight edge. We played a couple of festivals in Europe, but they were underground festivals. You know, you're playing to a group of 150 people all crammed into somebody's living room. That kind of festival, which was great fun. Driving all the gear over in one car, and there were 5 of us in the band. And we piled everything we could in the car and on the roof. Go across on the ferry, drive around Europe for a little bit, come home, and try and sleep because you couldn't sleep when you were out there. So yeah, I mean, the last band I played in, stoner rock band, they've got a bit more sludgy, but they're still going in the UK. A band called Wairarapa. So those guys have kept it up, but they went down a route that I wasn't all that into. I as Richard said, I quite like that straight hard rock, blues rock sound. So like AC/DC, that kind of vibe where you've got a song that drives you along and you can almost dance to it. You know, it's got a rhythm, it's got a groove, and because of that, it feels very earthy. It feels like it connects with the audience, so it feels genuine to them. I don't. When we're on stage, we don't play up to anybody. We don't act a role. With two guys at the front who are very clearly at the other side of their years with the grey, yeah, and then a young guy who's bashing the crap out of the drums, but he's doing it with style. And we're upfront about what we are. We're not trying to be anything that we're not.
Well, that's quite interesting. I'm going to come to Alex again now because how old are you, Alex?
I'm just went on to 22.
Right, so that's quite interesting because, like, my son has joined us. There's 5 of us, right? So 4 of us are like, in our mid years, and then there's my son who's 21. So how do you find playing with these guys? I'm going to ask you because I've not asked my son, so I'm going to ask you.
Oh, I think it's a great time. I think I don't even notice it. I just feel like I'm just in the band with the gang making tunes. It's a great time. I don't really...
It's pretty cool because my son adds what I've found with him being young. Sorry, excuse me. And is that he's got the young outlook of what music is today. And so, like, we've just been in the studio and we recorded everything and we brought the stems back out and he's actually mixing it. So we're letting him do the mixing because he's young and he's into that. He's into he did some electronic stuff, and so he's into the mixing. And so we're like, well, right, you do that. And he's coming up with most of the ideas at the moment, which is pretty cool. And so he's a really big asset to our band. And so I think like young people being with older people is quite a good thing. We're mixing up also the ages as well as the genres that we play or enjoy. So
yeah, I think it makes for a very fun dynamic because you get to share different perspectives of different generations of songs and stuff. I'll be like, oh, what if I did a groove like this song from this band and they won't have heard of it, and they'll be like, oh, you remember this jam? And I'll be like, no.
But that's what we're about, isn't it? Finding out about other music from people. I'm a bit like, if somebody's got something interesting to show me, then I'll have a good listen to it, because it might be my next favorite thing, and I like buzzing off it. So, what sort of music are you into, Alex? Because you're the youngest.
Oh, I hate it when people say, oh, I like everything, but I really do like everything. I listen to a lot of I'll just list some bands. Coheed and Cambria. So that's a bit of prog rock, I guess it is. Got concept albums. Dance Gavin Dance, Falling in Reverse. Blink-182. My Chemical Romance. I was brought up on Robbie Williams, Def Leppard. It's a bit of a vast web of stuff, but I also love going back to Frank Sinatra. It really is all sorts of stuff.
It's like quite funny because my kids are now into the stuff that I was into when I was like in my teens. Like my youngest one's got into the Smiths, and it was quite. I keep getting that on the school run, all the Morrissey stuff, and he's like, "Oh, Mum, you know all these songs." I'm like, well, I was really into the Smiths. That was my thing. He wrote great lyrics, So I'm the right. And coming back to you, Steve, I write just like you. We write like that. They bash out a riff and I put in the melody, and then I have what I call, I'm gonna swear now, bullshit lyrics, and they don't actually get real lyrics until I sit down and actually write the lyrics when we've got the structure. So that's how
I tend to do a lot of that as well. I'll make noises. I'll repeat lines that I've seen written down in the newspaper. I'll just make something up on the spot. And then once we've done all that, I'll go away and I'll think about it and think, what's this song actually about? What's the story? Where's it going?
That's right. Yeah, I'm the storyteller. I'm the same. I write stories. I try, and it's quite challenging sometimes to write a story in such a small amount of words. You have to be quite a bit of a wordsmith sometimes to accurately tell a story. But that's where poetry comes in, because I used to write a lot of that when I was young too. So yeah, I get that. So I'm coming back to Richard now, because you were talking about how you all met at Lovelands. So it seems quite important, like an important place where we all meet people, a venue. Would you say that that's right? Because that's what we've missed in Wairarapa. We've missed that sort of way to connect with each other. So
well, we didn't sort of meet we went to Lovelands to have a practice because it was a place that was nearby to us all.
Yeah.
But it was through Facebook, it was through social media. It was just musicians in an area reaching out and just putting out there, is there any other musicians around here? And that's how it kind of all started. That's how me and Stephen met. And the band, the other two guys that we sort of semi-regularly jammed with, and then as Stephen said, it sort of fizzled out. But those other two guys, they've gone and done what we've done, and now they're gigging and they're in a band, and it's called Volk, and they're amazing. They're excellent. If you get a chance to see a band called Volk, go see them. They're great. And we've remained friends, and we catch up occasionally, and hopefully we'll do some gigs together. But I mean, that's what it's kind of all about. But I think I'll be honest and say that it's rare. I've been in a few bands when I was younger, back in Palmy, and then a couple of covers bands, and then some other guys that we tried to get something going. And I find that it's actually rare to find people, let alone 3 people or 4-piece or a 5-piece band or whatever, that can actually gel and write and enjoy and carry it on for any sort of length of time. So like I said, we're just really enjoying our time at the moment, and that we've kind of found each other, and I think we're really fortunate to have done that, you know.
I think it is quite important, yeah. It's like, and it's quite hard to keep a band together. You just get to the pinnacle of where you're at, and somebody leaves, and then you got to get someone else and train them up, and they've got to fit in. That's that fitting in that's the thing, you know. And it's like I played with a lot of different bands and a lot of different musicians, and I'm classically trained as well, so I've played in brass bands and orchestras and stuff like that. And it is really the people that are in the band, and it's not necessarily the level of musicianship that they've got, you know. Sometimes it's just the vibe that you've got between you, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the most important thing. Is just the vibe is first, and the music.
I agree.
It'll come. The music will come if the vibe's right.
I agree totally, because this band, we've got a really good vibe, and we're actually quite creative. We've been really creative very fast. But like the line, Jeff from the Angry Stick has been going for about a year, but we had a different lineup before Christmas, and it was quite hard to. Nothing against the guy that was in the band, because I'm still friends with him, but the vibe wasn't quite there between us all, and the energy, and so like it took a change of personnel to get us actually going again. But yeah, I can appreciate where you guys are, and I'm quite interested in seeing you now. My husband, I think when we were listening to the you know, the people put the links to the recorded music and stuff, and we had a listen. My husband quite liked your music. He didn't realize it was you either. I told him it was you tonight. He was like, "Oh, he's a decent chap, him. I remember him." Yeah. So
Yeah,
there you go.
I didn't feel bad that I didn't pass the audition.
Well, you did. It was just it was just
yeah,
the
but it was
distance,
cool.
really.
It was really cool meeting you and going over there and having that experience, even though like it didn't sort of turn into anything. It was cool to meet you, and then now I've run into you again, and that's how it works. Hey, you know.
Yeah, that's right. That's how it goes, you know. And the thing is, it was the distance, really. It wasn't anything else. We actually quite liked you, you know.
Yeah.
And so, Alex, you said you did I hear you say jazz?
Jazz, yes, yeah. I back when I was having lessons, my teacher got me on some jazz and Latin type of music, type of stuff to stretch my ability beyond just bang bang crash.
So, like I'm a trumpet player. I got into jazz. I was when I was learning. I was an adult when I learned, and jazz was a really good vehicle for learning. You know, anything really, because it's quite technical and it sounds nice as well. I was into the classics, you know, the classic jazz stuff, Louis Armstrong and stuff like that. And I spent a lot of time trying to get that nice sound. And do you know what? Our previous drummer Dave in Spank, he used to put a lot of Latin American beats into our like punk stuff. You know, we'd go from rock to Latin to rock to Latin, and it was quite interesting. It mixed it up a bit, you know. It was a bit mad. So, do you bring those influences into the band?
Yeah, I like to think I try to.
He definitely does. Definitely does. The amount of times we've been on a nice solid beat, Richard goes for a guitar solo, and then suddenly he's doing a fill that's off beat completely. It's just off beat, and then he perfectly comes back in on beat again.
And that makes it interesting though, and that's what we had a song called "Having a Bad Day," and it used to go from bossa nova to rock to bossa nova, and then it finished with a big Who style ending. You know, from the Who, it sounded like the Who. So we went, and he was like quite creative like that. Dave, he used to do that. You used to think I'd go, this is a song, and I think it needs this beat, and he'd go, no, it needs a bossa nova, and I'd go, all right, let's run with it. But like, you know, it's quite cool, and you know, people like that about us, that we were a bit crazy like that.
You sing. You used. Well, I'm really interested to hear this new band that you're in.
You'll have to get down there early. Then you'll have to get there from the beginning because we're on second.
We will be there. But I remember Spank. They were great songs, and was it the trumpet? You brought in there.
Play a bit of trumpet in there.
And there were songs about how just what a shit day you're going to have if you haven't had your coffee. You know, don't even come near me until I have my coffee.
Well, actually, we've wrote 3 new songs that we're playing because we've just recorded them. But then there'll be a couple of Spank songs in there. We did a couple of Spank songs because we're still writing, and so we're doing. We've got one called Post Truth. We've got one called Slow Burn, and we got one called You Won't Win. And they're all about different things again, you know, life, you know. So like,
I'm pretty sure.
Sorry.
I think I've heard
Slow Burn, yeah. You have to listen. That. Yeah, well, they're coming out on the 19th. We're releasing our music at that gig, so that'll be quite cool. But I think we're doing Caffeine by Spank. Caffeine, First World Problems, and Crazy Life.
Yes.
So those 3. That's the 3 we're doing, and we're doing 3 Jeff ones because we've only got about 6 songs at the moment, but we've got lots in development. So we're back to the bass player. I'm going to ask you about your influences now, one by one. So who are your influences, Steve, as a bass player?
Okay. As a bass player?
Yeah. What do you bring to your bass playing?
No one. I'm not influenced by bass players, which is really wacky because I suppose it's that imposter syndrome thing. You listen to someone else and go, I'll never be that good. Jeez. So if anything, it's just kind of the whole sound that I'm interested in. So influences, damn. I'm an old school prog rocker. I loved Marillion when Fish was in them for years. I like the idea of telling a big story and taking you on a journey somewhere. But then I'm a big old rock fan, AC/DC, Motorhead, but then straight through to Metallica. I still love Metallica. But I also love Bruce Springsteen, and also Clutch, and then stoner rock bands like Greenleaf or Dozer or Sasquatch. It's an eclectic mix of stuff. I enjoy telling stories. So if you listen to acoustic artists like Jose Gonzalez, you know, he tells a story without actually saying any words because his guitar's telling the story. It does something weird all the way through.
Yeah, that's
so I quite like that vibe. So that's kind of me. But one of the things that I think Richard and I click on is the idea of if you think of Pink Floyd, the music just takes you somewhere because it's big and it takes you on a journey, and on that basis nothing's off limits.
That's right.
You know, you can do 4/4 time and then drift in at 5/4 time and then decide to put some synthesizer in because why not?
Indeed, and that's music, isn't it? When you write your own, you can do anything.
Yeah. As Richard keeps saying, it doesn't matter if you make a mistake on stage because no one will know.
No, that's
it's your
right.
song.
I've actually made loads of lyrics up on when I've forgotten them. I've just sang anything, you know, just to.
I do that.
Everybody does that. That's part of being a singer. So, Alex, you've told me about the bands you listen to. What sort of influences do you bring to your drumming?
I'd like to say purpose. A lot of those bands that I like to listen to, whenever I listen to them, I get the feeling that they really knew what they were doing and they just weren't doing shit for the sake of doing crazy stuff. I feel like they really thought about it and made sure that they were doing certain things throughout the song to really convey what kind of energy the song's supposed to give, like what the beats of the song. Because some bands you'll see the drummer just going absolutely nuts throughout the whole thing, and it's just some mud of drivel running through. But then you find those, and it's just so particular and intentional.
I agree with that. I think you can over drum. I think, you know, the art of actually, you can over lyricize and you can over melody as well. I think the art of keeping it simple is really difficult. We had a band come over from England called Yossarian, and they were really good. He reminded me of Morrissey's style and Joy Division, and he was saying about how you should let the song breathe, and I took that with me, and I've started doing that a bit more. And it's, you know, people like my son's like, oh, no, you should do more lyrics in there, and I'm like, no, I don't think we should. I think that we should let some of the music speak now. And that's be purposeful with what you do. That's a good point. So I'm going to come over to Richard. What do you bring to your guitar playing? Who's your influences, or what influences do you bring into that?
Yeah, I don't know. So when I was about 12 years old, I guess I'd been a bit sheltered musically, just what my parents were into and stuff. And then all of a sudden I was exposed to my brother-in-law's record player, and he had Van Halen. I heard Eruption, and I'd never heard anything like that. I didn't know a guitar could even sound like that. And he had all these cool records. He had Pink Floyd and AC/DC and Van Halen, all sorts of stuff. And I just sort of suddenly I knew I was going to play guitar. I just had to play guitar after hearing that. And so just kind of got, started from there, and learned some chords. Just always wanted to be a lead guitar player. Never got all that good at it, but then, that journey, like a lot of people probably my age or anyone really playing guitar, you go on a bit of a journey. You start off with what you like, and then when you start to delve into these people that influence you, you like to read interviews about them and stuff like that, and then so you inevitably learn about their influences. So then that takes you down a path of going down that. So inevitably, most people will tell you that used to start off with heavy metal always ended up with the blues, bit of reggae, and then because it's just a journey that you go on when you're following that musicianship and you're finding new ways to express yourself. And so yeah, that's kind of where I come from: heavy metal to rock to blues. And I think, I don't know, the rest of the band will agree or corroborate or not, but I don't really bring what my heaviest influences are. I don't really bring to it's not how I play.
No, I think that's right.
Somewhere, but it's not like I don't sound like any of them. I sound like me,
I think that's it. We only bring our influences in a little bit, but that's that listening and that sort of gets you, I don't know, it gets you the skills because you've listened to it, I think, and then you do bring some of the style, because I do bring some of my original Smiths influences from when I was younger into the songwriting, the lyrics, quite a lot, but not like in his style, but like, because that's the way it was, and ambiguous storytelling, which is what Morrissey did quite a bit. He can attribute a lot of different things to what he's saying, and so like I quite like that ambiguous storytelling. Right, so I'm going to wrap it up in a minute because I could go on forever. So what I'm going to ask you now is, have you had a look at the lineup, and who would you most like to see? I'll start with Steve.
I'm looking forward to Adonai.
Adonai have pulled out. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I was looking forward to them. They were my pick, but I really like Seismic State. They look good. Yeah. But Adonai, personal reasons, totally. We'll definitely have them back. Just something happened and they had to pull out. So I was really sad. I was like, please don't pull out. But that's life.
Then I'm looking forward to being pleasantly surprised by new stuff.
New stuff, yeah, no, definitely. There's definitely, it's a great lineup, actually. It was really hard to put it in order. in any order. There's no particular order because they were all amazing, you know. So it's like, and that's just life. So Alex, who were you looking forward to?
Oh, well, I'm not super familiar with a lot of the gigging bands. I'm pretty. The more you've talked about throughout your interview, I'm most interested to see what your group have to bring.
Well, I'm going to tell you now. I'm influenced by Freddie Mercury as a front person. So
I'm
I've got
right.
a lot of movement. I'm a moving kind of person. I've got a lot of energy on stage.
Yeah.
Richard, who are you looking for?
Oh, yeah, definitely Angry Stick is but I really I was going to say Aid and I as well. We've got a it was going to that they're going to be playing with us, hopefully, if they're still going to do that. And it was going to be the first time meeting them, so that was going to be cool. But I'm just really looking forward to meeting a whole lot of other musicians and hanging out and hearing what they sound like, and you know, hopefully getting a chance to hang out and just, you know, just be immersed in a sort of a scene with my peers, you know, and that there's another side to life that's not work and boring, and you know.
Come and hang out. That's what we're looking for. Hang out with us. And we want to come and do gigs with you. We want you to come and do gigs with us. So that's where we're at. We're trying to create those reciprocal relationships because they're so important when you want to get out gigging. I'm really, really miffed about Adonai. I was looking forward to them. But if you come early, the Travelling Lounge Room are saying that they are Brit influenced. They are influenced by The Cure and the Stranglers, so I'm looking forward to that as well.
Velvet Star are still playing, aren't they?
Yeah, they're quite interesting as well. Yeah.
They are very interesting.
Yeah, I know Seb. See, all these people I know Seb because he was in a band called Spaced Out. And I think they played Glastonbury when we did the Glastonbury Festival, and also a couple of the guys came up and played our EP release for Down to the Wire. So I know them as well. But I'm looking forward to meeting Lorraine because I interviewed her the other night and she was a really interesting person. So I'm really looking forward to meeting her. Anyway, guys, I'm going to have to sign off now. It's been lovely meeting you. Is there anything each one of you wants to say to the people watching at home before you come and perform for them? I'll go one at a time. So, Steve, you can go first.
There's a music community outside of Wellington. So explore it.
Yeah,
you know, there are musicians all over the place, and they're all trying to tell stories. They're trying to show their emotions through music, and it's worth it because it takes you on a journey.
Yeah, spend that $15 instead of the $150 at Mount Smart Stadium because you can come and actually talk to the people, for $15.
Yeah.
You know? Right, Alex, what have you got to say to the people at home?
Yeah, right. All right. Look, here's the thing. Spotify is great and all, but seeing stuff live is a whole other beast. You just got to come, guys. Come on. Come see us.
Indeed. And what about you, Richard?
Yeah, I'll say, don't, like, why wait for a big headline overseas acts? Like, there's music all the time. Come and support it. There's no money in it for us. You know, we're doing it for love, and it's because we love it. And you'll get that vibe. You know, if we're doing it for money, you'd see right through us. But we're doing it for real, and come and experience it.
Yeah, there is no money. My budget's really low. I'm trying to put the best experience on for the lowest budget because I'm not a promoter. Anyway, thanks for coming over, guys. Can't wait to catch up with you again on Saturday. Have a really long chat. Take care. Have a good one, and thanks for talking to me.
Thanks, Nikki.
Sign off.